finally back on the island of St. Marie for another season of mishaps and murder. In episode 1, Neville and his team will solve a tricky murder, St. Marie police welcomes a new sergeant, and we finally have our answers from the Christmas special cliffhanger. How happy are you that it's back?
I just feel like it's a ray of sunshine in my life. We're sitting in jumpers in freezing cold weather.
It is so clever of them to, January blues. We're going to put this in. We're going to put in the Happy Caribbean theme music, and it just really does raise the spirits.
But the most exciting thing for me this time is that we actually, the cliffhanger at the end of the last series, and then another frustrating cliffhanger at the end of the Christmas special, we find out what's going on, what Florence really thinks about Neville. I'm a little bit Devo because I was really hoping that, that she might be feeling the same way, but looks like maybe not.
I know. You know what though? I'm so glad that they actually have finally addressed it though, because I feel like you can keep these things going for such a long time, and it's like we finally got answers. She did find out what Neville thought about her. The chat, froze for him, but it didn't freeze for her. And so obviously now we know that she sees him as a friend, but I feel like there's a twinkle in Catherine's eye for sure when she says this to her, that maybe it's not entirely resolved.
But actually, Emmy, you have a bit of an inside take on this, don't you? Because you were having a chat earlier with Josephine, who plays Florence.
How did you feel when you first realised that's where the relationship was going to go?
I wasn't surprised because I know Florence. It's a bit weird to say, but I know Florence, so I'm not surprised that by the way she reacts. I don't know. There's a part of me that wishes they can get together because they're so cute together. But there's another part of me that like, is it too soon? Is it going to ruin the relationship? They are colleagues, they are friends. So if they become lovers, maybe it's going to be too much? You never know. So I cannot tell you what's going to happen for sure, but it's going to be a bit like this. It's like on a wire, on a very tiny wire between relationship, between friendship and love. So, but we have beautiful scenes together. She loves him for sure, but does she love him with friendship or with more than that? Maybe both. I don't know. Well, I do know, but I cannot tell you.
The way that she's talking about it, I think means there's going to be more. There's going to be more to it than what we see in the first episode.
I've become so mental about this relationship, and I think Neville is just so sweet that I started having these sort of conspiracy theories because we've got a new member of the team joining. I suddenly thought, well, maybe Neville's going to start thinking that she's quite sweet, and that could make Florence be jealous.
Actually, I think as well, there is maybe some things with Florence's character and what's holding her back from her relationship with her fiance, and obviously he died in season 8, I think it was, just before he left the show. And she does talk about that as well in our interview.
She lost her husband. It was the love of her life. So we cannot just, forget about it and move on. So I was really happy that she was still struggling with that.
Yeah.
And there is a lovely, lovely scene with Selwyn, between Selwyn and Florence. He tries to tell her that it's okay to move on, and that he understands that the ghost from the past can hold her. And it's difficult for her to, moving on is not forgetting about the person you lost, basically. So it's a lovely scene. And I love Don. He's the Don. I call him the Don. He's the boss for sure.
Naomi, I think she's a brilliant character. It seems like she's fit right in. She's kind of like the Hermione Granger of the St. Marie police. That's the impression I got when I watched. Well, I was going to ask about Chantal actually, because obviously she's new for season 11, and another woman on the team. How was it welcoming her to the cast?
I love her. I love Chantal, really, no, seriously. Chantal is like, Toby was like a brother. Chantal is like the sister I never had. She's a beautiful person, beautiful human being. She's extremely talented. It's funny because, so when we arrived in Guadeloupe, I sent her a message because I know what it's like to be like the new guy and the new girl on the team. It's difficult when you join a show that's been running for years and everybody knows each other. And, the first day she was really quiet and she was reading her book and wasn't really talking to people because she was shy. It's can be very, it's a big thing. It's a big thing. Yeah. I think it was her first big role in a big series. And then day after day, I discovered like the real Chantal, and she's crazy. She's hilarious. I love her, honestly. And her character is, I mean, I cannot wait for people to see her on screen because she's perfect.
But yeah, I think you're right. She did seem to fit in really well. I remember, some of the other characters, because obviously it's really hard when a beloved character leaves, and JP was so popular. But I think sometimes it's not always a smooth sailing when new characters come in.
I have to say, I do kind of like that the two women in the team are sort of like the very intelligent ones, and then you've got Marlon and Neville who are just a bit hapless, and it's a nice dynamic to have.
It is a nice dynamic. But we are missing JP, aren't we? I know we've spoken about that, and we did a great chat with him just after his last show, and it was the thing that really came across to me is how great real friends these guys become.
And obviously it was the first year without Toby on set for the first time ever. Oh no. Was it horrible? Was it upsetting then?
It was very difficult. I mean, Toby, I get emotional every time I talk about it. I could cry right now. It's so ridiculous. When Toby left, so he did his last series, and so we had like a drink to tell him goodbye, and I couldn't stop crying. Toby, we arrived on the show together, and he's like a brother to me. He's the most adorable person. This year, I missed him a lot.
Yeah,
it was different. It was different on set without him, and especially his last series, he was so good, and his character, got more confident. And I mean, the Toby I met when we started and the Toby a few years ago is a different person and a better person.
It was a really exciting first episode, wasn't it? And rarely we have a sort of a hint of what's to come in the second episode, because usually these the actual whodunits are done and dusted in the first in one episode, but it looks like this one's going to be rolling on for episode 2.
Well, yes, and I have actually already been lucky enough to watch the second episode already, and I can tell you it's going to get better and better.
Exciting. Well, we can't wait for the rest of the series, and please stay with us and come and chat about it with us. We'll be having some of the other stars and people who make Death in Paradise happen joining us.
Thank you so much for joining us for our Death in Paradise chat. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you next week as we break down episode 2.